ARCCA testimony could not have gone any worse for the Commonwealth. And I'm seeing so many takes online that I just had to make this video. So many takes in real time to say that this went well for the Commonwealth, that Karen Read has basically scored an own goal, where I'm wondering, are some of these people lawyers? Are some of these people, is this cope? What kind of copium are they smoking up there? Because I'm trying to figure out, how could this have gone well for the Commonwealth, and yet the Commonwealth is trying their best, at least in cross, they try their best to discredit Dr. Wolf, as well as try their best to discredit the entire test. I go by the name of Heinz. Thank you so much for tuning in for another video. I'm talking about the Karen Read trial and that all-important ARCCA testimony. That testimony could not have gone any worse. And today I'm going to go through the testimony and also the takes in regards to this testimony. We know that in the last trial there was no reconstruction. There was no accident reconstruction, but the theory that they're basing their whole case on the first trial and retrial is that a collision occurred that night when John O'Keefe died. So immediately you would think, reconstruct this so that you can show us a collision. On this trial, I will give them credit, they did try to show some type of reconstruction, and they did try to show some visual aid. This was done through Dr. Welcher, who basically painted the tail light blue and had the car reversed at 2 miles per hour to hit him, and then his arm was all blue. So basically all that we saw was that test. Now, on cross-examination for Dr. Welcher, he was asked why he didn't use a dummy to test at different speeds, etc., all those things, and he said that dynamics would change the variables, so he didn't bother. He didn't bother to do those testings. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist of what he was saying. This is why I believe ARCCA blew his testing out of the water, because that's why they were rebutting, because they done his testing at different speeds with a dummy with the same handstands he had, and the results could not be any more damning towards the Commonwealth. Not only did they do testing in regards to the hand arm stands, but they also done testing in regards to a glass being thrown at the vehicle. All these testing that are done, in my opinion, had gone to further disprove Commonwealth's theory, because end of the day they are theorizing that a collision occurred that caused this. So why would they not put on a collision accident reconstruction? Why are they so afraid of it? Because this is what Dr. Welcher should have done, in my opinion, but he didn't do that. And the fact that the people that want Karen Read in prison are focusing on test E, one result, which is the test that had the vehicle going at 24 miles per hour and showing the arm damage. They're saying that this test basically proved that John had been hit by a car at that speed and the case is over. However, we didn't see any breaking in John's clothing that was consistent to what had happened on that test. The shards that are broken off could not have caused that, which I believe was the purpose of that test, to basically show what it would look like on impact, and we didn't see anything that would resemble that. Otherwise, you know what would have happened? Brennan would have just used that information on cross and be like, do these look similar to XYZ? He would have done a side-by-side comparison of the tail lights, like but he didn't do this. However, the same people that one can read in prison that had gone online and basically shown a side-by-side and basically tried to discredit the same test that they said that had gone well for the Commonwealth. They try to say that it was done on different conditions. Why would it be done like this, etc. And shown why this test was so effective for the defense. Because end of the day, when you look at it side by side, We see extra damage to the lining, to the panels, or I don't know what it's called, but we see extra damage to that side up outside of the tail light being damaged. But when we look at Karen's vehicle, there is no damage. You can argue different stances can, affect the vehicle, etc. But when you are looking as a juror, let's be honest, a juror can look at that and believe she really did hit him, but the inconsistency and the lack of testing by the Commonwealth to even bring this information out, to even show you this beforehand, the lack of testing by them to demonstrate this is enough for reasonable doubt. And the reason why I know this is because in the OJ trial, some of the jurors out there did say that they thought OJ did it, but the evidence presented at trial in regards to how the investigation was done, all those things, was not conclusive enough for them. And that's the same thing here, in my opinion, because end of the day, when you looking at this, you'll be wondering why didn't the prosecution do tests like this, reconstruction tests like this, and present it to them? Why are we only hearing Dr. Welcher say, yeah, trust me, it goes when you hit something at when you hit the arm at 8 miles per hour, it would definitely break? Why are we hearing that and we're not seeing it for ourselves as an accident reconstructionist? Why is the defense putting on all of this? And let's not forget the human element here as well. The human element here is the fact that we are not stupid. We have common sense. The jurors, they all have common sense, and they're gonna use it. They're gonna tend to use it because end of the day, nothing is beating the visual of seeing a vehicle go that fast. Even if it's a dummy, they're gonna project a human being onto that dummy, and they're gonna project John O'Keefe onto that dummy, and they're gonna see that dummy be hit. They cannot escape the loud bang that dummy would be, that a human arm will be shredded. There will be multiple fractures, multiple injuries, and the way that the dummy was even twisting in a pirouette, twisting and twisting and twisting, you would imagine bones will be broken from the lower extremities to the upper extremities. All these things would happen. Something that was not present in with John O'Keefe's autopsy. I have also seen takes where they're like, well, he goes into a pirouette, so therefore Trooper Paul deserves justice. And I'm like, Trooper Paul was not even called for this, for all of this. He could have shown his findings from his accident reconstruction to prove this, because I do remember that we did laugh at Trooper Paul for even suggesting a pirouette if being hit. I mean, he wasn't far off, but at the same time, that was why he was asked that question, because if you're spinning around and you hit your head on the ground, you're going to sustain more injuries. And I really believe this is probably why there was a hung jury last time. Maybe they just couldn't agree that the injuries was unreconcilable. And now you're seeing it in real time. You can't unring that bell, and Trooper Paul is not here to testify again, because they have changed their theory completely, because Trooper Paul's findings in the previous trial is different to what they are putting on now. This trial amazes me. Like, the takes that I'm seeing, it really amazes me how people cannot just look at the evidence for what it is. I'll be fair, can the jurors single-mindedly look at test E and be like, well, that goes at 24 miles per hour. The tail light break, even though it's not the exact same, because you can make that argument that different, if you put John in a different position, you might see tail light breakage be similar to what you saw with Karen Reed's vehicle. That's all fair and good. You can put it on there that jurors could be, because jurors are fickle. Are they going to be cynical enough to be single-minded and be like, look, we got the information. The tail light has broken at 24 miles per hour. Is similar to, is close enough or similar or whatever words you want, because we know that it's not the same, but it's close enough to the tail light damage of Karen Reed. So therefore there was a collision, she did hit him, and and coupled with the fact that we heard from from our interview saying I hit him, and the other witnesses, etc., they could all be like, that's enough, guilty. Am I saying that that's not possible? That is very possible. Jurors can do that. Personal feelings aside, I'm going to say that. But me looking at it as a layman, I cannot, in my honest opinion, I cannot really bring myself to actually say that this is conclusively that she did hit him, and then I ignore the results of the testing and be like, if she did hit him in that stance, these are the results. I would be very interested. I'll be looking keenly at what Dr. Welcher says to rebut to all this. That could change everything. So even though I'm laughing now and I'm saying that your takes are completely idiotic and has no basis in reality, if Dr. Welcher rebuts and does his own testing and presents different results that is consistent with the Commonwealth's theory, then it would be game over. But at the end of the day, like I said, if this was good for the Commonwealth, Brennan would have gone on that cross and done a side-by-side comparison of the tail lights. He didn't even bother to touch a side-by-side comparison of the tail lights at 24 miles per hour. This is literally in line with the data that they are presenting with the tech stream data. It's in line with it. And yet we got to hear on cross-examination again that the tech stream data is not consistent with a collision. It doesn't show a collision occurred. That they were just using that because that's what the information that was in Dr. Welcher's report. That, like, what are we doing here? Let's be real. Brennan would not be trying to discredit the weight differences that will bring about different results. He would be going through all the fabric that was damaged from John O'Keefe's clothes and putting on and say, look, from your results, we saw this damage. Isn't that consistent with this? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that he will be using the evidence that came out, if it was favorable, that came out from the testing that ARCCA had done against the defense. But we know that there was no favorable evidence. We saw how that dummy reacted to all of this. Look, people are always going to have takes, that's fine. But at the end of the day, from what I've seen, it's you have to be blind. You have to be disingenuous. Like, you can be real and just be like, I believe Karen should go to prison, but the Commonwealth has to clean this up somehow. Yes, because now the burden is really back on them, because at the end of the day, that testing could be disregarded by the jury and they don't put any weight on it, because at the end of the day, it's not their burden of proof. They'll look again at the Commonwealth, be like, well, what are you going to respond to that? Like, what's your proof for your theory? Because they are putting the accident, we have to remember this, they are putting the accident right on full view, the collision that they're saying did not happen, by the way. The defense are saying did not happen. They're putting it right back on the Commonwealth. And this shows you the difference with the two teams. From what I've seen all through this trial, they haven't actually tried to show you an accident occurred. And now we have it right here and here that if an accident occurred, it would look like this. This is why I say it's game over. Is really came over, because if it doesn't look like that, and if they don't rebut to basically say, no, it would look like this with different stances, at least that's what I'm hoping Dr. Welcher is going to come out. I don't think he's going to do that, but that's what Dr. Welcher now has to come out and say, that if it was done in this stance, if we try it with this stance, this other stance, etc., these would be would be the damages to the tail light. This is what a tail light would look like. This is, I'm just suggesting other things that they could do. I don't know what the strategy is gonna be, but end of the day, the ball is right firmly in their court to show what the collision that they're alleging happened that night, what it would look like. Something that we haven't seen all through the 2 trials. And I'm here for it completely. I cannot wait for Monday to see what's going to happen next with Dr. Rentschler's testimony in regards to the injuries. But like I said, jurors can really infer from the dummy and project themselves onto it, project John O'Keefe onto it, to basically know common sense wise, it's not possible to go through a collision like this and not have multiple fractures. I've seen people also say, and I'm going to wrap it up after this, I've seen people also say that, well, I wished that there was x-ray. Well, duh, this is what we've been trying to tell you. This case should not be happening because they're so ill prepared. The Commonwealth has not done a thorough job from the beginning. So why are they putting on a case like this when the evidence is so flawed? When I saw that take, I'm like, you have to be disingenuous. You have to be living under a rock if you really believe that she is guilty, and you're praying for these things to be put on by the prosecution, which they have not. Trooper Proctor was there and spoke about the medical examiner. You don't think he could have requested for x-rays? He could have, if he wanted to really prove this theory of her running him over, so that they can show, even if minimal fractures, so that they can show extra, But end of the day, this is where reasonable doubt comes from, because if you don't have the X-rays to prove that there were fractures, etc., what are you doing here then? But we know, and I'm going to end on this, we know that the Commonwealth are basically saying that there was no lower extremities the injuries. They said it with Dr. Welcher, that it was possible, based on his testing, that it was possible to be hit at that speed at 24 miles per hour and not have lower extremities. He said that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have time for. Thank you so much for tuning in and hearing me ramble for this long. Hope you have a great day and take good care of yourselves. Make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to share, and also don't forget to subscribe. Let everyone know that we exist and we're talking about the current retrial. I have more videos coming out. Stay tuned. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day. Bye for now.